All this she took in like a picture, as with one hand, shading her eyes, she leant against a tree, watching the strange pair and listening, in a half dream, to the melancholy music of the song. But the tune isn't his own invention, she said to herself. It's, I give thee all, I can no more. She stood and listened very attentively, but no tears came to her eyes, into her eyes. Okay, so here's the song. I tell thee everything I can, there's little to relate. I saw an aged man, a-sitting on a gate. Who are you, aged man, I said, and how is it you live? And his answer trickled through my head like water through a sieve. He said I look for butterflies that sleep among the wheat. I make them into mutton pies and sell them in the street. I sell them unto men, he said, who sail on stormy seas, and that's the way I get my bread, a trifle, if you please. But I was thinking of a plan to dye one's whiskers green, and always use so large a fan that they could not be seen. So having no reply to give to what the old man said, I cried, Come tell me how you live, and thumped him on the head. His accents mild took up the tale. He said I go my ways, and when I find a mountain rill, I set it in a blaze, and thence they make a stuff they call, and thence they make a stuff they call Roland's Macassar oil. Yet 2 pence halfpenny is all they give me for my toil. But I was thinking of a way to feed oneself on batter, and so go on from day to day, getting a little fatter. I shook him well from side to side until his face was blue. Come tell me how you live, I cried, and what is it you do? He said I hunt for haddocks' eyes along the heather bright, and work them into waistcoat buttons in the silent night. And these I do not sell for gold, or coin of silvery shine, but for a copper halfpenny, that will purchase 9. And that will purchase 9. I sometimes dig for buttered rolls, or set lime twigs for crabs. I sometimes search for grassy knolls for wheels of handsome cabs. And that's the way, he gave a wink, by which I get my wealth, and very gladly will I drink your honour's noble health. I heard him then, for I had just completed my design, to keep the men I bridged from rust, by boiling it in wine. I thanked him much for telling me the way he got his wealth, but chiefly for his wish that he might drink my noble health. And now if e'er by chance I put my finger into glue, or madly squeeze a right-hand foot into a left-hand shoe, or if I drop upon my toe a very heavy weight, I weep, for it reminds me so of that old man I used to know, whose look was mild, whose speech was slow, whose hair was whiter than the snow, whose face was very like a crow, with eyes like cinders all aglow, who seemed distracted with his woe, who rocked his body to and fro, and muttered mumblingly and low, as if his mouth were full of dough, who snorted like a buffalo that summer evening long ago, a-sitting on a gate. As the knight sang the last words of the ballad, he gathered up the reins and turned his horse's head along the road by which they had come. You've only a few yards to go, he said, down the hill and over the brook, and then you'll be a queen. But you'll stay and see me off first, he added, as Alice turned with an eager look in the direction to which he pointed. I shan't be long. You'll wait and wave your handkerchief when I get to that turn in the road. I think it'll encourage me, you see. Of course I'll wait, said Alice, and thank you very much for coming so far, and for the song. I liked it very much. I hope so, the knight said doubtfully, but you didn't cry so much as I thought you would. So they shook hands, and then the knight rode slowly away to the forest. It won't take long to see him off, I expect, Alice said to herself, and she stood watching him. There he goes, right on his head as usual. However, he gets on again pretty easily. That comes of having so many things hung around the horse. She went on talking to herself as she watched the horse walking leisurely along the road, and the knight tumbling off, first on one side and then on the other. After the 4th or 5th tumble, he reached the turn, and then she waved her handkerchief to him and waited till he was out of sight. I hope it encouraged him, she said, as she turned to run down the hill. And now for the last brook, and to be a queen, how grand it sounds. A few steps brought her to the edge of the brook. The 8th square at last, she cried as she bounded across. Okay, we have some more asterisks here, but it's in the middle of a sentence, so maybe that's her bounding across the brook, perhaps. And threw herself down to rest on the lawn, as soft as moss, with the little flower beds dotted about it here and there. "Oh, how glad I am to get here! And what is this on my head?" she exclaimed, in a tone of dismay, as she put her hands up to something very heavy and fitted tight around her head. "But how can it have gotten there without my knowing it?" she said to herself, as she lifted it off and set it down in her lap to make out what it could possibly be. It was a golden crown.